The Indian Child Bride and the Old Arab Husband. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This narration continues the story of the Arab sugar daddy and the beautiful poor Indian girl. It was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. It is a novel narrated in 6 books. Book 2. The Arab Sugar Daddy Turns into the Granddaddy the Devil. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages from the review for printing in a general newspaper or public magazine, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictitious and any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 16. The irrevocable verdict of the Sharia court. The unsuccessful Islamic court trial about the validity of the marriage between the underage Indian child bride and the Saudi old man has given the CIA team incidental clues that they are looking into solving Rayhana's problem. First of all, they got a copy of the medical certificate that Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed presented at the Sharia court to prove that his Pakistani chauffeur had been sexually castrated when he was in his country. When he was questioned by the police of Jeddah, the Pakistani doctor who issued the certificate claimed falsely that Sabir Ibrahim Shah came to his clinic and demanded a medical examination, and after that a medical certificate as proof that he was a eunuch man had been given to him. Whatever might be the reason for its issue, that certificate would be critical in Rayhana's defense. It can be used to prove to the Sharia court that the second marriage of Rayhana was based on deception, and hence it was illegal before the Islamic Sharia law. It also can prove that the second mock marriage was never consummated because no sex was involved between Rayhana and her so-called second husband. There is still the danger that the Sharia court might convict her of having an illegitimate child. The Americans learned that the medical pregnancy test showed that the Indian maidservant was a few weeks pregnant before she got married to the Pakistani chauffeur who used to work as a driver for her kafil. Based on the same medical report, none of the 2 teenage sons of the sheikh who blackmailed and raped her could have fathered her child. Also, she was not impregnated by her first paper husband, the pimp Aslam Ali Khan, who kept her for a while in his apartment and conducted a mock marriage with her too. There must be another man who had sex with her before those 4 males. The 7 members of the CIA are inclined to believe Rayhana's story. She was pregnant because she was raped by 2 Saudi police officers upon her arrival in Saudi Arabia. For that reason, the American CIA team decided to search for the loving Bedouin family that rescued Rayhana's life when the 2 Saudi policemen brutally raped her and attempted to murder her and left her half dead, and after that, they disappeared from her miserable life. That would convince the court that Rayhana became pregnant through rape and not adultery. Accordingly, the American team employed 35 young Arab men and began their search around the outskirts of Jeddah city. Every member took 5 Arab men with him or her and began their meticulous searches. The search is difficult due to the huge number of Bedouin tents that encircle the cosmopolitan Saudi city like a rainbow around the sun. The team members know that if they do not find and present the Bedouin family before or at the retrial, Rayhana Khan will be stoned to death. In their painstaking search, the CIA team members used some of Rayhana's photos that they collected from the newspapers and magazines, which included articles about her simultaneous marriages. After 2 weeks of intensive searching, the Bedouin family has been found near a small suburb on the outskirts to the east of Jeddah city. The loving Bedouin parents identified Rayhana's photos and narrated the entire story of her miraculous discovery and rescue. They began from the time they spotted the small foreign daughter walking all alone on a lonely, rough road. At first, they thought that she was a manifestation of a female satanic creature who came to attack them, disfigure their faces, and transform them into black demons or scary jinns. Therefore, they decided to beat her up and kill her, and if they could not slay her, they should at least chase her away if she came to their tents. But the wise wife told her brave husband to read from the gracious Quran the verse of the throne first from Surah Al-Baqarah 2, verse 255, before he would attack the little female creature and kill her. Then the Bedouin woman told her husband that if the little female creature would not disappear after hearing the verse of the throne, then he should not attack and kill her. In that way, the Bedouin man said he came to know the female creature was a human being like him because she did not vanish after he loudly read thrice the verse of the throne from the Holy Quran. After that, the Bedouins narrated how the little girl directed them to the place where her mother lay half dead in the desert. When they reached her, they found the mother was mortally wounded and naked because her rapists had torn her dress into bits and pieces. There were blood clots all over her body and clothes. They carried her on their shoulders and brought her to their tents. They found her body was full of cuts and bruises. The wise Bedouin woman narrated how she used dettle and hot water to treat the wounds of her patient. Then, she used milk and cold water to revive her. Whatever the loving Bedouins have said has been videotaped by the American CIA team. The Bedouins mentioned that Rayhana and her daughter spent 1 month with them. After 1 month, the foreign mother requested the Bedouin man to take her to the city. Then, the Bedouins said that they took the mother and her daughter on donkeys and rode them to the nearest suburb and left them in front of a shop in a supermarket. The last time they saw their uninvited guests was in the place they left them both standing in. The statements of the Bedouin family are considered by the American CIA team as concrete good evidence that Rayhana was kidnapped, beaten, and raped. Howbeit, the Bedouins said they did not see who raped her and attempted to murder her. The Sharia court might accept the witness of the Bedouin family about the kidnap and murder attempt, but it might reject the claim that Rayhana was raped and subsequently impregnated. To solidify their case, the CIA team tried to confirm that the 2 Saudi policemen who took Rayhana from the Jeddah International Airport were the ones who had kidnapped, raped, and attempted to kill her. If that missing piece of information is established, then the 2 culprit police officers will be found and punished. The American CIA team went to the Saudi Airlines main office and demanded to know what had happened to the 2 Indian female passengers who managed to enter the Saudi plane and traveled from Bombay to Jeddah without their passports. The airline office found the report of the Saudi plane that brought Rayhana and her daughter from Bombay to Jeddah. The report showed that 2 Indian female passengers by the names of Rayhana Khan and Ifat Khan had boarded the Saudi plane without their passports. It also mentioned that the 2 female passengers were handed over to the Jeddah International Airport police. Based on the report, the American CIA team approached the Jeddah International Airport and confirmed the arrest of the 2 Indian female passengers who arrived from Bombay without their passports. The team got an official copy of Jeddah International Airport and added it to its files. Then the team approached the Jeddah International Airport police and demanded to know what they did with the 2 arrested Indian female aliens who arrived without their passports. The airport police confirmed the arrest of the 2 Indian female passengers, and then it gave the names of the 2 Saudi police officers who came and took the Indian woman and her daughter to the Jeddah Women's Jail. Before informing the police authority about the 2 policemen who raped Rayhana and dumped her unconscious body in the desert, the American CIA team decided to confirm that the 2 arrested Indian female passengers were not taken to the Jeddah Women's Jail. After collating evidence from the 3 sources, the Saudi airline, the Jeddah International Airport, and the airport police, the CIA team approached the Women's Central Prison and confirmed that the 2 arrested Indian passengers who arrived in the country without passports had never received 2 foreign female inmates. Once more, the American CIA team did not approach the Jeddah police to demand the arrest of the 2 Saudi policemen. Prudently, the team has submitted the results of their investigations to the royal family. It is to the royals that they made their demand that the 2 Saudi policemen should be arrested and DNA paternity tests be conducted on them and the so-called Wald Haram, or an illegitimate child of the imprisoned Indian woman, Rayhana Khan. Although the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia usually would not use a DNA test in deciding over adultery and other immoral crimes, still the royal family issued a decree for the detention of the 2 policemen and gave their consent for the DNA paternity test. At once, a special medical team has been brought from the UK to conduct the DNA test. The results of the paternity tests confirmed that one of the 2 policemen had fathered the boy of Rayhana Khan. Confronted with overwhelming and undeniable evidence, the 2 Saudi policemen confessed that they had kidnapped and raped the Indian woman on her arrival in Jeddah and had left her and her daughter in the desert and returned to the city. During their interrogation, They tried to justify their evil acts by claiming first the beautiful and sexy young Indian woman had tempted them with her exposed hair, face, shoulders, thighs, and big backside. Then, they said she told them to have sex with her as a sexual bribe and then to release and allow her to be with her Indian boyfriend. Lastly, they said she deceived them by saying she and her daughter wanted to go and pee in a women's public washroom in a supermarket, and then they jumped out of the window and fled. However, whatever they have said and claimed has not been accepted by their interrogators, and through the police torture, they confessed their hideous crimes and narrated them from A to Z. As soon as the two culprits confessed their crimes and the DNA tests proved that the Indian maidservant had been raped, the royal family issued a second decree and cancelled the scheduled retrial of Rayhana Khan. The decree ordered the immediate release of the Indian woman with her head held up high in honor. Additionally, the King of Saudi Arabia decreed that the Indian maidservant Rayhana Khan should be compensated with a sum of 380,000 Saudi riyals. When this story took place, $1 equals 3.8 Saudi riyals. It is a huge amount of money equivalent to $1 million. In the Indian currency unit, that amount is called 7 crores, which equals 70 million Indian rupees. If the poor Indian maidservant Rayhana Khan had worked for 1,000 years as a maidservant in India, she would not have made 1% of that huge amount of money. Even if her former Saudi employer had employed her as a maidservant for 100 years, she would not make 10% of what the Saudi government has given her as compensation for the evils that have been done to her during those 3 years of her incarceration in a scary dark dungeon in the kingdom of Tartarus. Although she is released with honor and her life snatched at the right time by the American CIA team from the jaws of death and paid a huge amount of money in compensation, still Rayhana's heart is full of sorrow and frustration. She has become devastated and her heart has been broken when she has come to know that her little daughter was forced into marrying the old Saudi man who had impregnated her while she was only 10 years old. She cried and begged the royal family to intervene and release her small daughter from the old monster, but her tears and pleadings fell on stony hearts. She is told that no power or authority on earth could release her daughter from her lawful Saudi husband except if he is willing to agree to divorce her without coercion. This is because the decision of the Sharia court is based on the sacred Muslim scripture, the Holy Quran, and the Hadiths and married life of the Prophet Muhammad. Therefore, the decision of the Sharia court is irrevocable and every mortal human being who tries to change it will commit unpardonable blasphemy, exit from the Islamic community, and become an apostate from Islam who deserves to be killed and land in hellfire and burn for eternity with the accursed Satan Iblis, his demons, and the unclean infidels. Besides, by this time, the Saudi old man and notorious womanizer and pedophile had already taken his underage pregnant Indian child bride and immigrated to the Islamic Republic of Iran and settled in Tehran. Therefore, no power on earth could reach him and separate him from his so-called lawful child wife again. As a consequence of this immature ending of their investigations, the 7 members of the American CIA team have understood that they have not completed their mission successfully. They could not convince the Sharia court that Sheikh Firoz bin Ahmed had killed the late American female human rights activist Shama Abdul Bari Ahmed, the wife of the son of the U.S. Congress Senator Alexander Thomas. The entire blame for her brutal murder has come to the head of the so-called foreign drunk driver. The Somali young man, Abdul Gader Ibrahim Saleh, has been tried by the Sharia court of Jeddah and condemned and ordered to be executed for causing the death of an American female citizen. Therefore, his name has been added to the death row of those condemned who awaiting their turn to be beheaded. Moreover, the American CIA team members also could not be able to invalidate the Islamic marriage contract of the 73-year-old Saudi man and the little underage Indian girl Ifat Khan, who was then 11 years old and pregnant. They failed to force the Islamic court to convict Sheikh Ahmed of kidnapping, raping, and imprisoning a minor female child. Once again, the entire blame has fallen on the head of the despicable Pakistani chauffeur. Sabir Ibrahim Shah had been condemned as a false testified witness and given 80 lashes, and after his corporeal punishment he had been deported to his country and his name blacklisted. Even so, the 7 members of the American CIA felt that they had achieved a considerable victory by stopping the stoning of an innocent Indian woman from the slums of Bombay. Shortly after her release from the bottomless pit, Rayhana Khan boarded an Air Indian plane and flew back to her motherland. On the same day, the 7 members of the American CIA team boarded their plane and began their trip to the land of Uncle Sam. They felt as if they were flying away from a backward 7th-century Muslim society in the Sahara Desert of Arabia to an advanced and free society within the greatest country of the 21st century, the United States of America. Chapter 17. The Sad Return of the Released Indian Maidservant. Rayhana Khan arrived at the Mumbai Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport at 11:45 a.m., according to the local time. When she left India over 3 years ago, the city was called Bombay and its international airport was known as the Sahara International Airport. In her absence, the Shiv Sena Hindu political party had changed the name of every street and every local train station in the city. Even the city did not escape that radical religious change. Also, the 1.5-century-old Bombay University had been changed to Mumbai University. The University of Bombay was established in 1857. The only thing that the Hindu party could not achieve yet is changing the name of the country from India to Hindustan. The Shiv Sena is a political party affiliated with the National Hindu Party known as Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP. That country in Hindi is called Bharat, but the British colonists changed it to India. I wish God would help the National Hindu Party in changing the name of the country to Hindustan or Bharat. 150 million Muslims are living in India, and yet they are more loyal to Pakistan than India. Still, they are counted as a minority group because Hindus are over 850 million. Most of the Indian Muslims are not loyal to their motherland, but they are patriots to Pakistan, which is the bitterest enemy of India. They always cheer for the Pakistani cricket team and celebrate and rejoice openly whenever that Islamic team defeats the Indian cricket team. I wonder how a person can live in a country but support another country, one that is considered India's bitterest enemy. This problem is not only confined to the Muslims of India, but we notice it in many Western countries such as France, Spain, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Belgium, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and the United States of America. Many Muslims born in those countries and those who obtain citizenship do not integrate into mainstream society and hate their new country. They direct their hatred at a country that gives them good living and social liberties not available in their previous countries, and sometimes help plot out terrorist attacks against innocent citizens of their adopted nation. Suffice it to say that Rayhana Khan left her country with her little girl Ifat Khan and returned with her small baby boy, Irfan Khan. She boarded a plane as one of the poorest slum women and returned to it among one of the richest women in her city. Despite it all, she is miserable and feels like a failed female soldier who returned to her country defeated and disgraced. The suffering, torture, and abuse she experienced in the so-called Holy Land left permanent painful scars in her heart, mind, and body that no amount of apology and money could erase or soothe. She is feeling depressed, despair, and suicidal for what the wicked old man had done to her only daughter, and he is still doing to her small female child. She hates him with passion and curses the day she met him at the gate of India in Colaba. She regretted that she believed him and took her small daughter with her and traveled to his accursed and unholy country. Before she left Saudi Arabia, Rayhana was invited by the CIA team to emigrate to the USA and start a new life among civilized and loving people. Nevertheless, she thanked them and decided to return to India for the sake of her mother and 5 sons. Even so, the head of the CIA team gave her his card and promised to help her to emigrate to his country anytime she wished to do so. What she is supposed to do is to give him a phone call and he would arrange her immigration along with her family members to the USA as resettled refugees. Rayhana knows she left her poor family with money that she expected would not last more than a year. More than 3 years passed since she took her only daughter and traveled to the rich land of the Arabs. She has no idea how her old mother could have fed her 5 children with the money that she had given her. Rayhana is so scared to go back to her former hut in the slum of Dharavi where she left her family. She is afraid that she may find her mother has died and her sons become beggars on the streets or starve to death. She knows that she has not kept her promise to them. She told her mother that she would send her money every month as soon as she started working in the holy city where the Black Kaaba or the House of Allah and the shrine of the Prophet Muhammad. Her mother thanked her God 1,000 times when she came to know that her daughter was traveling to the rich Arab country where there's the sacred shrine of the Prophet Muhammad and the House of Allah. Rayhana promised her mother that she would return to her country after 2 years with so much money and take her to visit the Holy Lands and fulfill the 5th pillar of Islam, the Hajj rituals, which is the heart desire of every Muslim man and Muslima in the subcontinent for the Muslim Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, and Indians. Before she traveled to the Promised Land, the land that flows with milk and honey, and the money is scattered in its streets, just like the garbage scattered everywhere in Bombay City. The blessed and lucky daughter had disclosed to her dear mother her secret hidden treasure and told her to use the money inside her underground bank for buying food and clothes for her 5 grandsons. But sadly, most of that hidden money had been stolen from the old grandmother by her little grandchildren. Whenever the old grandmother fell asleep, some of those naughty sons would get up and open the underground bank and steal some paper currency and use it to buy food from the moving vendors or buy candies from small shops. Therefore, the money finished in less than 6 months. At any rate, the imprisoned and miraculously released Indian female prisoner Rayhana Khan took a taxi from the Mumbai International Airport to the Dharavi slum area. Her heart is beating faster and louder as every second passed by. She felt inside the taxi as if her heart might jump out of her mouth at any moment. She began to sweat and shake when the taxi reached Dharavi. She does not recognize the place. Instead of dirty and foul-smelling huts, a 15-story building greeted her. Her mind has become confused and her heart became exceedingly frightened. At first, she thought that the long period she spent in Jeddah's jail had somehow twisted her memory. Approaching the nearest shop, she asked about her hut in Dharavi. The male shopkeeper told her that where she was standing was part of Dharavi huts, but a wealthy businessman had bought the place she was inquiring about. Then he constructed a huge 15-story building in its place. When she asked him what happened to those miserable people who used to live stuffed over there like sardines in tins or eggs squashed in small boxes, he told her that the wealthy Indian man gave some of those poor people apartments on the first floor, and some he gave a few thousands of rupees and sent them away. However, those who rejected his offer and refused to leave faced dire consequences. The rich man used some thugs of the dreadful Gondas and also bribed a few corrupt police officers and kicked them away. Some of the stubborn poor people got beaten to death by those ruthless Indian gangsters. The information gave Rayhana some ray of hope. She wished that her mother got an apartment and some money from the wealthy Indian man and used it to care for her family. With that hope, she left the shop and went to that tall building and began to inquire about her family. She found a few people who used to live near her small hut. From them, she got conflicting information about her family. One woman told Rayhana that her mother died in the hut before the builder had constructed his 15-story building. After the death of the old mother, the workers of the government of Bombay took away her dead body and burned it into ashes. Another woman confirmed the death of her old mother, but said her 5 children ran away from the slum and became beggars. One man also confirmed the death of the mother and described how she died. He said that her mother became so poor that her body was emaciated and decrepit like a skeleton. When her mother became destitute, her grandchildren forsook her and ran away and disappeared. They had never returned. She died shortly after that from starvation. Her body was found dead in the hut after 3 days when it decomposed and began to spread a foul odor. No Muslim man or woman in the slum area was willing to take the decomposing body of her mother and bury it in the Muslim graveyards. Therefore, it was taken away by the government and burned as if she was a Hindu woman. Rayhana listened to the horrifying story of the death of her mother with tears falling from her eyes like hot acid. She prostrated on the ground and began to cry like a mother who suddenly lost all her 6 sons. She wailed and bewailed until she lost her voice. She regretted that she left her poor mother and let her die in that horrific way. She hated herself and hated the day she was born. She began to slap her cheeks and punch her body as if she were a madwoman. Her screaming and hysterical action made many people and children cluster around her. As she went on in her hysteria, the crowd called the police. The cops shouted at her and told her if she did not go away, they would arrest her and send her to either jail or a mental hospital. Due to the fear of the cops, the sorrowful woman stood up and began to drag her feet and walk away from the place of her former hut. After overcoming her grief, Rayhana decided to search for her 5 sons in every nook and corner of the cosmopolitan city of Mumbai. She wants to find them and pick them up from the streets, hug them, and give them the love that she denied them for 3 years. She carried her baby boy and went and booked a room in a cheap motel. She told the front desk that she came from Pakistan to visit some of her relatives in Bombay. She said further that she could not stay in their hut because it is small and her Muslim relatives have so many children. She decided not to tell anyone about what had happened to her in Saudi Arabia. She disguised herself and hid her true identity. She put on a black burqa and hid even her face. She is scared that if the evil Bombay gangsters came to know she is the Indian woman who received 70 million Indian rupees from the government of Saudi Arabia, they might kidnap her and blackmail her until they got all her money. Although she had deposited her money in a foreign bank, still she's scared that the Indian thugs might threaten to murder her if she refused to give them all her millions of rupees. So, the first thing Rayhana wanted to achieve was to find her missing 5 children. She has changed her mind about immigrating immediately to America. She thought she would find her mother and 5 sons and immigrate with them to the USA. The CIA team had promised to assist her anytime she would like to move to their country. She accepted their offer, but told them she would like to return to her country first, and then she would contact them as soon as she found her family. In search for her dear ones, Rayhana Khan did not leave a stone unturned. She spent 3 months in a cheap motel in the Santa Cruz area. In her room, she is weeping day and night for her mother and missing sons. She searched in many slum areas, but did not find her sons. She also searched every local train station and every street in Bombay without finding her missing children. She went to Churchgate and Colaba areas where there were thousands of small beggars, but she could not find her children among them. She went to the crowded train terminals such as VT Station and Bombay Central Station many times, but could not find her progeny. It is as if the earth has opened up and swallowed them. During her search, she spent so much money on policemen, Gonda, and other helpers, but to no avail. Chapter 18. Looking for the Missing Lover. It was when she lost all hope in finding her 5 missing sons that the sad Indian woman Rayhana Khan remembered her lover, the handsome Jamal Khan. She hopes that she can at least find among her missing dear ones her lover. Then they can get married and immigrate together to the USA as a handsome Muslim husband and his beloved wife. To achieve such a difficult goal, the former Indian maidservant stopped searching for her missing 5 children and began to search for her lover. Fortunately, this time, her search did not take long. Her millions of rupees could make her find a needle in a haystack in that big Indian cosmopolitan city where there are 19 million people. She bribed some top Indian Muslim police officers and hence employed them to help her find her missing husband Jamal Khan. She said her Muslim husband had mysteriously disappeared from her life and she does not know where he is living now. The hiding place of her missing husband has been discovered in less than a month. Some of those Muslim police officers have brought to her another devastating news that made her troubled conscience and bleeding heart bleed more. She learned from them that Jamal Khan is serving a long sentence at the Thana prison for rape and robbery. According to the information, her husband Jamal made through rape a young Muslim girl pregnant who used to work with him in downtown Bombay in the Muhammad Tours and Travel Agency. He is also behind the suicide of the same pretty young girl who is called Bulbula Sheikh. The late Bulbula killed herself when everybody in her slum hated her and called her a filthy whore. No one was ready to believe she got raped. Because of those hideous crimes, Jamal Khan had been tried and condemned by the Bombay Criminal Court and sentenced to 15 years imprisonment under hard labor. For that reason, the police officers told her they could not get him out of the dungeon until her husband finished his long jail term. Rayhana vehemently refused to believe that the loving and honest Muslim young boy Jamal Khan could commit such terrible crimes. She remembered that she sat with him many times at the seashore of the Marine Drive and tempted him in every possible way. If he is that kind of a man, he would have taken her to a motel and had sex with her many times. Instead, Jamal did nothing to her except hug her body, fondle her breasts, and kiss her on her lips. Discovering the place of her lover, Rayhana, like someone has found an oasis in a desert full of coffins of her dead relatives. Although the jail might be just a mirage and she might never get him out, still the thirsty girlfriend is like a drowning person who is prepared to hold onto a straw if that could give her hope in her hopeless situation. She has lost every dear relative in her life except her lover Jamal. Therefore, when she came to know where her handsome lover was imprisoned, the beautiful Rayhana traveled from her small hotel in the Santa Cruz area by 2 local trains, 1 bus, and 1 auto rickshaw to reach Tana jail, where her lover is kept for 3 years. It cost her a lot of money and took her a long time to travel from Santa Cruz to Tana. She left her hotel at 8:30 a.m. and reached the jail at 2:45 p.m. She bought so much food and cold drinks for her imprisoned lover. The men's prison in India is 1,000,000 times worse than the women's prison in which she had been unjustly jailed in Saudi Arabia for 35 months. Jamal Khan could not believe his eyes when he saw his beautiful beloved girlfriend Rayhana Khan had come after many years to visit him. From the day he got arrested inside the traveling agency, no one had come to visit him. Even his beloved sister Nafisa Khan had believed the lies of his former wicked boss and boycotted her brother. Although his beloved girlfriend Rayhana has lost half of her weight and most of her beauty faded away, still her boyfriend Jamal has recognized her. Rayhana is scared to tell him about what had happened to her in Saudi Arabia. She expected that her conversation with him might be recorded by the jail authority. She told him that she went to Saudi Arabia and worked as a maidservant for 3 years and returned home for good. Her lover remembered that he was the one who began preparing her travel papers. He thanked his God Allah for giving his beloved girlfriend his grace and success and leading her to go to the rich country of the Arabs for a good job. Rayhana has not brought her baby boy with her. She does not want Jamal to think that she left him and married another man in an Arab country that is full of sex deviants. She hired a babysitter and kept her baby Irfan Khan with her. Jamal narrated his story to his beloved Rayhana in hot tears. Rayhana wept bitterly when she learned that her innocent lover had been falsely accused of those ugly crimes and sentenced to 15 years of confinement in the filthiest jail in the world under hard labor. She knows firsthand how any person would feel when falsely accused and condemned for a crime that he has not committed. She recollected the day when she was dragged like an animal or notorious female criminal from her Saudi sponsor's house and thrown behind bars. She cried and begged for her freedom, but no one gave heed to her tears. For 3 years, she wept day and night in her solitary confinement and waited with a bleeding heart for her cruel execution for no crime she had done. So, she understood that her lover had gone and is still going through the same pain and suffering. She wished that she could find honest, sincere, and caring people like those 7 Americans who did not leave a stone unturned to free her from the dungeon of the wicked Arabs who tortured her and sentenced her to be stoned to death for no crime she had done. She knows that her country is full of corrupt and evil lawmen. Working within the system, Rayhana has decided to find a Muslim lawyer to reopen the case of her boyfriend and push for a retrial. She told her lover that she is going to appoint a good lawyer and request him to apply for a retrial. Jamal told his girlfriend not to waste her money on a retrial that might not succeed. He too knows the corrupted judicial system of his country intimately. Rayhana paid her lover no heed and affirmed that she would not allow him to spend another 12 years in jail for crimes that she knew he had not committed. She has determined, even if she has to spend all her $1 million on lawyers and judges, she is not going to leave her innocent lover imprisoned any longer in the most dangerous and filthiest jail in the whole world. That decision has been firmly taken. Rayhana decided to move from the motel to a rented apartment. She understood that the retrial of her lover might take many months. She went to Bandara and rented an apartment in a beautiful area. The apartment is in a tall building located in a rich area called Bandstand. It has many security guards. The building has an elevator. Her apartment is on the 17th floor. When she entered her spacious room, tears fell like hot acid on her cheeks when she remembered the small hut they used to live in, like stuffed sardines in a tiny tin or as eggs in a small box, with her 6 children, her parents, and also the father and the mother of her late husband. The rich Indian woman Rehana Khan hired a babysitter and 3 maidservants to work for her. She employed a babysitter, a washerwoman, a cleaner, and a female cook. She remembered how she worked as a slave in rich people's houses before she went to the rich land of the Arabs. In those days, she used to work from 6 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. She worked 7 days a week. She used to get only 300 rupees in a month. Even the slave might not work every day without a single day of break. Consequently, the kind Rehana decided not to enslave the poor girls she employed. She paid for them very well. She did not force them to work for her for more than 8 hours in the day. She remembered she used to work 15 hours per day without getting paid overtime hours. She invited her maidservants to eat in her apartment while they were working for her. She allowed them to use her washroom. She remembered how the rich people she worked for did not allow her to use their toilets while she was working in their houses. Whenever she felt the need to go to the toilet, she used to go to the public washroom in the local train stations. Rehana also bought beautiful uniforms for her maidservants and gave them some of her beautiful spare clothes. It should come as no surprise that her maidservants love her so much. They told her that no rich Indian woman would treat her maidservants the way she is treating them. Rehana did not tell her female workers that she was a maidservant like them before. She told them that she came from Pakistan to visit her Indian husband who is in jail in Bombay. Rehana Khan retained a Muslim lawyer and discussed the case of her imprisoned lover with him. She told him that she was certain that her boyfriend was innocent. She asked him to apply for a retrial. The lawyer accepted the case and promised to do his level best to get the case tried again, but he did not give her any false hope or make big promises. A week passed when the lawyer phoned her again and told her the court agreed to the retrial. He ended the conversation by asking her to come to his office near Bandra Court's main building because he wanted to discuss with her some important matters that he would rather not discuss over the phone for privacy and confidentiality. When they met up, the Muslim male lawyer explained that the evidence against her lover is overwhelming and undeniable, and therefore no advocate in Bombay would be able to disprove them. Nevertheless, if she would agree to pay money by the nose to him and the main judge, the charges against her lover would be dropped. Rehana agreed to pay the money, but with a condition attached. She said that she would pay only 10% of the bribes before the retrial, and the remaining amount she would pay after her lover was released in honor. The lawyer told her that he had to talk to the main judge before he would accept her condition. After another couple of weeks, the Muslim lawyer phoned his valuable female client Rehana Khan again on her cell phone and asked her to come to his office to discuss an important confidential matter. When she reached his office, he said to her the main judge wanted her to pay 25% of the amount before the retrial and 75% after her boyfriend was freed. Rehana accepted the counteroffer without any further negotiation. According to the new deal, she has to pay 100,000 rupees to the main judge, 100,000 rupees to the lawyer before the retrial, and 300,000 Indian rupees for each one after the imprisoned lover is set free. So, the total amount of the bribe is 800,000 rupees, which is equivalent to a little over 11,000 American dollars. It would be divided equally between the Muslim lawyer and the Hindu judge. The faithful, beloved girlfriend Rehana Khan gladly paid the first installments and eagerly waited for another 6 months before the unjustly incarcerated handsome lover reappeared before His Majesty Judge Ram Prasad at the Churchgate High Court. During the retrial of the convict Jamal Khan, the clever Muslim lawyer Siraj al-Din Sharif al-Din, by hook or crook, could be able to somehow refute all the pieces of evidence against the condemned lover. First of all, the lawyer brought a young Muslim boy into the courtroom and made him swear under oath by placing his right hand on his holy Quran that he was the former boyfriend of the late Bulbula. The boy has brought some fake love letters and claimed that he received them from his late beautiful girlfriend before she went to her god Allah through an intended suicidal death. In one of the letters, Bulbula informed her Muslim boyfriend that she was impregnated by him and asked him to marry her. The boy admitted that he had sex with his ex-girlfriend Bulbula Sheikh many times before she killed herself. In another love letter, Bulbula threatened that she was going to burn her body if he did not marry her before her strict Muslim family found out about her pregnancy and killed her to bring disgrace to them. The Muslim lad is an excellent actor and cries before His Majesty the main judge Ram Prasad, the lawyer Siraj al-Din Sharaf al-Din, and the audience while he is reading the last sad love letter that his beloved girlfriend Bulbula supposedly had written and sent to him before she had committed suicide. He said that due to his poverty and lack of work, his poor Muslim parents did not allow him to marry his pregnant girlfriend. In keeping with his acting role, the boy wept and wept until he made everyone in the court weep with him, none more than both the judge and the lawyer who know the truth and shed crocodile tears. At the end of the sad love saga, the boy admitted to the court that he was the one who unintentionally made Bulbula Sheikh pregnant with an illegitimate baby and led her to commit suicide. The poor Muslim boy received 10,000 rupees before he appeared in court and promised to get another 10,000 rupees after the retrial was over. Of course, Rayhana was made to pay the first installment of the bribe to the boy and promised to pay the rest of the money to him after the retrial was successful and her handsome lover is set free. At the end of the sad romantic drama of Romeo and Juliet, some of the audience praised the fake lover for his honesty and some zealots cursed him for causing the death of a pretty young girl who burned her body because he made her pregnant without the sanctity of the Islamic marriage bond. Thank God no one has attacked Romeo or tried to kill him after the trial is over. The clever Muslim lawyer Mr. Siraj al-Din anticipated something like that might happen to his small hero, therefore he bribed some policemen and made them protect the fake lover after the trial was over. He knew it was no uncommon occurrence for criminals to get killed inside courtrooms in India. Anyhow, after destroying the false rape charge and suicidal death of Bulbula against the innocent convict Jamal Khan, the clever Muslim lawyer Mr. Siraj al-Din Sharaf al-Din began to dismantle the robbery charge. He produced enough evidence, which indicate that the late girl Bulbula Sheikh came from an extremely poor Muslim family. She used to live in a hut in Mumra, which is a Muslim poor slum area. She worked in the Muhammad Tours and Travels agency for a few months before taking off her life. She used to receive a monthly salary of 3,000 rupees. Then, he argued that it would be impossible for a poor girl like the late Bulbula in a short time to make so much money and buy jewelry for 200,000 Indian rupees unless she had robbed them from someone or her workplace. Accordingly, the clever Muslim lawyer contended that if the convicted boy Jamal had robbed and raped Bulbula Sheikh, why she did not inform the police immediately after she got robbed and brutally raped. Why did she wait until she got impregnated? Why did she kill herself for a crime that she had not committed? It was her employer Mr. Muhammad Khan who made the complaint to the police and not her. After dismantling the robbery and rape charges of the late Bulbula, the lawyer Mr. Siraj al-Din began to deal with the charge of theft. According to the complaint of his former employer, Mr. Muhammad Khan, after raping and robbing Bulbula, Jamal had also stolen 300,000 rupees from the Muhammad Tour and Travel agency. The lawyer argued during the former trial that the conviction had not been backed by any substantial evidence. There were no fingerprints taken by the police or any pictures of the broken safe supplied by the employer. The employer did not even inform the police at the time he was supposed to have discovered the robbery. Jamal Khan was arrested after a long time from the time the alleged rape and theft took place. By the way, the court could not bring in the employer, Muhammad Khan, because by that time, he lost his mind and he was in chains in a cell at a dirty mental asylum. After the tragedy of that Black Sunday, the wicked boss remained in the hospital for a few days, lost his mind, became a dangerous madman, and began to attack anyone who came near him until they chained him to his bed. Shortly, he was declared a dangerous madman, put in chains and fetters, and transferred to a mental hospital for dangerous lunatics. At present, his fingernails have grown long like a caveman, he lost his long beard, his bald head is full of scars, and his clothes are always filthy because he urinates and defecates in them. Therefore, none of the staff of the mental hospital would like to come close to him because his body smells like a decomposed dead body and his cell is filthy as hell. Once in a day, someone throws to him through the high window some leftover food and a small bottle of unwholesome water. His wife, sons, and daughters stopped visiting him. Even his Hindu girlfriend, Sangeeta, has forsaken him and found another boyfriend. The retribution from God on him is so great that no one would believe or recognize this is the same rich, proud, arrogant, and evil boss Mr. Muhammad Khan. When Jamal Khan was tried and convicted over 3 years ago, he had no defense lawyer. His wicked employer Mr. Muhammad Khan used a very cunning Muslim lawyer and managed to nail him with all those hideous crimes which he had done none of them. At the end of the retrial, the Hindu judge Mr. Ramprasad dropped all the charges against Jamal Khan and ordered that he should be immediately released with honor. Instead of rejoicing, Rayhana Khan fell on her knees and began to weep. It was her handsome lover who came and carried her from the floor and hugged her until the tears in her eyes stopped falling. A month later, the real and eternal lovers, Jamal Khan and Rayhana Khan, got married in the Bandra Marriage and Divorce Court. Looking ahead to the life of the wonderfully united in a lawful matrimonial union, after 6 months, the intimate lovers immigrated to the United States of America. The beautiful young Indian woman Rayhana Khan was 3 months pregnant when she flew with her handsome husband Jamal Khan and her cute son Irfan Khan. This time, she has not become pregnant through rape, but by the handsome lover with who she has decided to spend the rest of her life with him in their new world and among wonderful people in the most advanced country in the world. The land that produced the heroes of freedom Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln, which is proudly called the United States of America, where the Statue of Liberty stands in the shore of New York.